Where is Gina Miller when you need her? The McCanns, fresh from losing their libel case in Portugal and apparently set to become penniless, are back in the papers warning Gonçalo Amaral that if he tries to publish his book in English, then he will be Carter-rucked. Link below. As fake news goes, this is rather good. Take this quote from a friend. If he thinks his old or new book will appear here, then he's got another think coming. If that's his intention, whoever is responsible will be sued. Carter-Ruck will have no hesitation issuing a writ for defamation. Really? So why hasn't a writ been issued? The book, The Truth and the Lie, is available in Britain. Link below. It is available in English. Link below. And no writ has appeared. And speaking of sophistry, I refer you to the State of Washington versus Donald Trump et al. Link below. The claim is that the moratorium discriminates on the basis of religion, specifically against Muslims. This case, though initially denied by counsel, is supported by the counsel's reference to campaign speeches made by Donald Trump and by reference to comments by Rudy Giuliani. Governor Inslee, in his interview with Tucker Carlson, link below, also states that this is a Muslim ban because the countries named are majority Muslim and because Section 5 of the order mentions minority religions. It is therefore targeting Muslims. This same line of argument was picked up by the council in their legal presentations. So let us think about this for a moment. What does Section 5 say? Is further directed to make changes to the extent permitted by law to prioritise refugee claims made by individuals on the basis of religious-based persecution, provided that the religion of the individual is a minority religion in the individual's country of nationality. So, suppose you are a Sufi, or an Ahmadi, or a Shia, or a Sunni Muslim, or a member of any number of Muslim sects, or semi-Muslim sects like the Yazidis, and you are being persecuted because your sect is a minority in that country. Will you be excluded by this order? By the wording of the order, the answer is no. In order to make this case, or the case being made by Washington State and upheld by a federal judge and by the appeal court, one has to assume that Muslims are a single entity, that they all believe the same thing, which clearly they don't. And at which point I would refer you to my video on the meme "This is not Islam," link below, and specifically to the death of the founder of Shiism, Ali, at the hands of the Kharijites. And not only is this case based on this, for want of a better term, racist assumption about Muslims, it reinforces this by its implicit adoption of, in addition, the United States should not admit those who engage in acts of bigotry or hatred, including honour killings, other forms of violence against women, or the persecution of those who practice religions different from their own, or those who would oppress Americans of any race, gender, or sexual orientation, as being specifically targeted at Muslims. Yet if you read the Ann Coulter book, Adios America, linked below, which supposedly influenced Donald Trump on the issue of immigration. This could equally apply to the Hmong. The only reason it currently doesn't apply to the Hmong is because the 7 countries named in the order are so named because they are countries of concern in the previous law passed by Congress cited in the order. And if this is discrimination against Muslims, then why isn't the visa waiver program linked below? Of the 38 countries named, only 2, Brunei and Singapore, could be described as Muslim countries. Neither of them are populous nations, and according to the logic of Washington State, this clearly is targeted religious persecution. But of course, the bringing of this case, and indeed the protests against the order, have nothing to do with refugees or Muslims per se. It is simply a way to bunny ears resist, close bunny ears, Donald Trump, who is literally Hitler. The irony is that by the time this gets played out in the courts, the big data program that lies behind this program and the change in the law, the 3-month moratorium in the order was intended as a breathing space to test this big data program before it is implemented. And it will no doubt be faulty because A, it's big data, and B, it will not have had the 3-month period to train people to use it or to test it to make sure it works. At which point the Democrats and the anti-Trumpers will be back on the street protesting that people are being denied entry to the United States because they once tweeted Allahu Akbar in response to the Charlie Hebdo attacks. Of course, by then the hysteria will largely have died down due to the killing of a fascist or 2 whipped up by the media, who at which point will be running endless stories about how the woman beaten to death by a mob for wearing a red cap had nothing to do with them.